That bathroom scene was insane.
Oh.
You know my favorite Steven Spielberg movie?
No.
Well, this one is like Close Encounters of the Turd kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is a nice restaurant, babe. Let's keep it formal.
What? We go to a fancy restaurant for our anniversary and you lose your sense of humor all of a sudden?
No, it's not that. It's just this is our 10th anniversary and I really want it to be special. So I got you a glass of wine while you were in the bathroom.
Ooh, what'd you give me?
I got you a Merlot.
I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot.
What's wrong with Merlot? I thought you liked Merlot.
I don't even know what it is. It's just that movie, you know, Paul Giamatti says that.
What movie?
Sideways. You know that
Sidewind?
No, Sideways. Those two middle-aged idiots go to wine country.
Oh, I've never seen Sidewind.
You've never seen it?
You haven't seen it.
No way.
You're out of order!
You're killing me, Smalls.
Fasten your seatbelts.
You're tearing me apart!
Houston, we have a problem.
What we've got here is failure.
Conceivable. God damn you all to hell!
Hello and welcome to You Haven't Seen It? The podcast where I make my wife watch movies that she doesn't care to see. I'm your host, Joey, and this is my co-host,
Aaron. I'm his wife.
Yes, we are husband and wife, and we do this podcast where I make her watch movies that she doesn't know about, doesn't care about, filled with people that she doesn't recognize or give a damn about.
Yeah, pretty much. So, what movie are we going to be talking about today, Joey?
We're going to be talking about the 2004 classic Sideways, starring Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church. I think I got his name in the right order.
Okay. I don't know which is which, so it doesn't matter to me.
Well, this movie came out in 2004, starring the two guys that I just said. It was an independent movie. It's played at a film festival, which I can't recall right now.
Oh,
and
really?
Then, yeah. And then it got picked up by somebody. Maybe, do you remember who distributed the movie?
No.
Okay. I feel like it was 20th Century Fox, but I don't know. Anyway, it was a commercial success. It was nominated for a bunch of Academy Awards, a bunch of Golden Globes, all kinds of stuff. And it was kind of a cultural phenomenon for a short period of time, which we could get into a little bit later. But Aaron, I want to ask you, did you know anything about this film before we watched it?
No, I've never heard of it ever. Period.
Okay.
Nice and short.
Do you know anybody from the movie? Are you a fan of any of the actors?
The bald-headed, they're the balding guy. He looks familiar, but I don't know what's from.
Oh, Paul Giamatti. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Also, I forgot to mention that Sandra Oh and Virginia Madsen.
You know, actually, I do recognize several of them. So the blonde guy, he looks familiar too, but I don't know what he's from. But then his fiance, she's a mom in some type of movie that I've seen.
His fiance?
Yeah, she looks so familiar. I know I've seen her in something, but I just don't know what. And then Sandra Oh, I saw her in Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, she was in Grey's Anatomy. No, I don't. His fiance was barely in it.
Yeah, but when I saw her, I was like, I know I've seen her before. I'm not sure what it was in, but I know I have.
Okay.
She's a very specific look. She's gorgeous, but she looks like she's hard to think of someone else. Like she has a very distinct look about her.
Okay.
So I definitely recognize her. I just don't know what from.
Okay.
I'll have to look into it.
Okay. We can look it up. But I just want to, before we watch the whole movie, when just in the beginning, what were your general impressions? What did you think we were going to watch versus what you saw?
Well, you didn't tell me anything about it, so I can't really pull from what you've said about it. it, like, from just the thumbnail, it looked like a comedy somewhat, which, I mean, it's not a comedy, but it's within that wheelhouse. I feel like it's not a super serious show. There's lots of humor in it. Also, I have to point this out that I am real nasally today. My nose is all kind of stopped up. So sorry about that. I'm going to sound like a nerd.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, I couldn't tell anything about it. The name doesn't even tell you anything really. Sideways doesn't say anything about wine country to me. So whenever he started being this wine snob, I was like, okay, this came out of nowhere.
Do you think he was believable as a wine snob?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I read online that Paul Giamatti didn't understand anything that he was saying.
Oh.
Really tells you what a great actor he is.
Yeah.
I was completely sold. I was like, you know what? I bet you Paul Giamatti likes wine in real life.
Oh, I bet so.
But apparently he didn't.
Mm.
Another interesting fact about this movie is after it came out, Pinot Noir, which was Paul Giamatti's favorite wine, and they talk about a lot in the movie, shot up in sales by 20%.
Wow, that's awesome.
And Merlot dropped in sales by about 2%.
Merlot.
Yeah,
I like Merlot.
I don't.
That's a sweet wine.
Is
isn't
it?
I think.
Don't
I'm not
ask
sure.
me.
I don't really know much about wine. Honestly, though, watching this movie, I was like, I want a glass of wine, but I'm not a big drinker. So, like, I'll have a drink now and then, but watching this movie, I was like, I want a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And not good wine. I want sweet Stella Rosa wine, which is my favorite wine. It's very sweet. It's not, some people probably would be like, that's not even wine.
No, it's the opposite of a snobby wine, that age and all that stuff. It's I want to get a buzz on, and I want it to taste good while I'm doing it. That's what Stella Rosa is. And I'm a beer guy, so I don't really mess with wine too much. But I will say it did make me want to go to wine country.
Yes, it looks so beautiful. And I would definitely go wine tasting in wine country. That sounds so much fun.
Yeah, well, a future anniversary for us.
Yeah. Maybe our 10th.
All right, well, you want to jump into the movie?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, one of my first thoughts whenever we were watching this, immediately right out the gate, the guy is super late. And it reminded me of, so I'm a theater teacher, and it reminds me of my head director. He is late to everything. And it's an insane amount of late. So that was the first thing popping up. I was like, oh my gosh, he is like my head director.
Yeah, they really present Paul Giamatti's character in the very beginning as being a real mess.
Yeah, and irresponsible, but I don't think it lends itself to the rest of the movie. Like, he doesn't seem like such a mess.
No, well, they also tell you later that he went to some wine event the night before and that he got drunk.
Yeah.
And so maybe he forgot to set his alarm. It's happened to all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it shows him doing crossword puzzle. That's something that stuck with me from the original. Like, how the hell do you do a crossword puzzle while driving? Do you remember that?
Oh, no, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he was doing a crossword puzzle. Like, a crossword puzzle for me is hard enough when I'm not driving.
Yeah.
I can barely do the damn thing. But I think they were also trying to set him up as, like, a pretty smart, intellectual guy.
Just kind of down on his luck.
Yeah. Well, we found out later he's been in a funk. Mm-hmm. Thomas Hayden Church keeps bringing up, like,
his ex-wife.
Yeah, the fact that he's like, ever since your divorce, you've been moping around, being all depressed.
You haven't been the same.
Yeah. So they really hit us over the head with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to his buddy's house. So I think his name was Jack.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they say that he's a writer. So, like, that's the first time we ever hear about him writing.
Yeah.
And that he has a book coming out. So it kind of jumps right into the middle of the story. It doesn't, like, give much exposition. It's just like, follow us along as you go. Mm-hmm. Which I appreciate. I don't need a bunch of exposition at the top.
Yeah.
To get me going into a movie.
Yeah, but put it in the dialogue, fit it in there. You get little pieces over the time. You don't need to slap us in the face with it.
Yeah. But yeah, he's writing a nonfiction book, and he's also a middle school English teacher. So you definitely, it was kind of all over the place. Like, I don't know of many teachers that have written a book, but I mean, honestly,
well,
there are some.
When you're an artist and you're not an established artist, you're not a name, you have to have a normal job.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
We're not all Stephen Kings, damn it.
Yeah. Well, did he originally want to be a writer? I guess so. Because even his ex-wife said that, like, asked about, did you write your book? Did you finish your book? And he said he did.
Oh, yeah. He probably always wanted to be a writer.
Yeah.
I'd imagine. But we meet Thomas Hayden Church's character, and you can tell right away that this guy is a goof.
A piece of work.
Yeah, he's a real piece of work. But
I did not like him as a character. I'd have to say it.
He's definitely, he juxtaposes Paul Giamatti's character.
Absolutely.
And you don't like him. But I'm very glad he's there, because imagine how dark this movie would have been in if it had just been Paul Giamatti alone.
Yes.
For most of it.
Their relationship really pushes this movie through. Like, I hate that character, but I'm glad he's there. Like, I wouldn't want him out of the movie at all.
No.
And he does a really good job of making us hate him.
Yes.
Like, that actor is doing a really great job.
Yeah, he has a lot of great lines, and he's definitely comedic relief. Oh, yeah. Yeah, which is needed at a lot of parts in the movie.
Yeah, and also one of the things, right as soon as they left, you know that they're getting married to some degree, but like, it doesn't make sense until he gets to the house, like, why he's going there in the first place. Because they're like, I thought you were going to be here at 12, and they were like, I'll be there soon, but it was like 11 o'clock, and he's in San Diego, and he had to drive all the way to LA, which you said was like a 2-hour drive, maybe.
Well, I don't know how far it is, because I live in Texas and not California.
Yeah.
But LA and San Diego are not very far from one another, I'm pretty sure.
Well, is San Diego more south or north of LA?
It's south. It's San Diego. San Diego is by the border, and LA is, a few hours from the border.
I was going to say, because if it was if it was higher up, because the wine country's up north, right?
Yeah, it's like a Central California Bay Area.
Yeah. So if he went from north of LA to LA, then back up to wine country, I was like, that guy was a piece of work to make him drive all the way out there to pick him up when he could have driven his car to that guy's apartment. But now that I know where it is, I don't know geography of California at all. So,
well, you're lucky I'm here, because I do a little bit.
A little bit. But whenever they got in the car, they started drinking and driving at the same time.
Yes. They are both fucked up in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And Thomas Hayden Church seems to be kind of a parasite in a way. Like, he attaches himself to people and, like, sucks them dry.
Jack?
Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, the character Jack.
Because he's a parasite on Paul Giamatti's character. And then when he meets Sandra Oh later in the movie, he really leeches off of her in a really terrible way that they don't even reveal to you until she's there beating him up.
Beating the crap out of him. Yeah.
So they set off, but before they head to wine country, they have to stop by Paul Giamatti's
mom's house. What
is Paul Giamatti's name in this? Do you remember?
No, I have no idea. I couldn't figure it out the whole movie. But he does stop at his mom's house, says it's for her birthday, but
yes,
he goes and steals money from her.
Yes, he steals money from her, but the funniest thing about that to me is how she won't stop gushing over
the actor.
Yeah, Jack, because he was like a soap actor at some point, and now he's very he's a has-been, he's washed up.
Yeah, he's doing commercials for car dealerships and
voiceover
medicine.
Yeah. I also read that Thomas Hayden Church had quit acting, like quit physical acting, and he was just settling into doing voiceover work. And he got the call to audition for
show?
this. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. To audition for this movie, and he got it. And this put him back into acting because shortly after this, he was in Spider-Man 3.
That's
as
where I've seen
Sandman.
him.
Yeah.
That's where it was.
Yeah. It revitalized his career a little bit.
Yeah.
With good reason. I think he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say that Paul Giamatti, he steals money from his own mother.
Yeah. So before he goes up there, his mom keeps talking about, oh, well, you should go out with Wendy, which I have no clue who Wendy is. They never tell us who Wendy is. But she said clearly he's a good match for her in his mom's eyes. And then she starts talking about Victoria, and I'm like, wait, who are all these women? And then finally, when he goes up to steal the money, you see he was married to Victoria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't. Is that when they reveal that he?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It kind of like hints at it like a little bit, but it doesn't like come out and say it until you see him at like his wedding picture.
Right. And then it shows him sneak out in the morning.
Yeah.
Because she fell asleep on the couch downstairs.
With the TV on. He said, don't turn it off. She'll wake up.
Yeah. Also, they imply that he doesn't see her that often.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what do you think their relationship was?
I think that she reminds me of a parent that is there for their kid, but isn't invested. So like when a kid says like, oh, like, hey, like I need this, or I want to do this, they're like, okay, but they're not going out of their way to make their child's life better. You know what I mean? Like they're just going through the motions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she was overbearing. That she probably, was like, oh, you should do this, you should do that a lot in his life.
Oh.
And then probably like gushed a little bit too much on him, like, oh, but you're such a great writer, or stuff like that, because that's what she did to Jack.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's good. That's a good. But I do feel like she gushed on him, and so maybe it gave him a big head. Maybe she even persuaded him into marrying Victoria when he wasn't ready. We don't really know.
That's a good point. I never thought of that.
You can tell that he loves Victoria.
Oh yes, he's still in love with his ex-wife. It's very clear.
But was the mom part of the downfall of it? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe something to do, like they always say, the relationship you have with your parents is going to affect relationships you have down the road. So maybe it led him to marry somebody that he shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm. Possible.
Yeah. Or not to be ready for marriage.
Well, I think also later on it talks about how Victoria was overbearing. And that was the reason he cheated on her, which is, I guess, one of the reasons why they got a divorce is because he cheated on her. It kind of glazes over that. It doesn't really go into depth about that at all. Or like why they separated or why they got a divorce.
Yeah, the movie really peppers it in because I don't think they want to go back in the past.
Yeah.
They want this movie to move forward. Mm-hmm. So they don't want flashbacks and they don't want to talk about it too much. Just want to drop hints. But also it could just be that Paul Giamatti's character was such a pain in the ass, it forced his wife to nag him because he's so irresponsible. Yeah, possible. Or I mean, his apartment was kind of messy. It wasn't horribly messy, but it wasn't clean. Yeah, so we could surmise that he's like that after the divorce because of the divorce, or we could say like maybe he's always been this way and his wife couldn't put up with his bullshit. Yeah, because we don't really know enough about this woman to really say like she was a bitch or overbearing. And she didn't seem like it whenever they met back up at the wedding. She didn't seem petty about it. Mm-mm. She wasn't petty when he drunk dialed her either. She seemed like a very reasonable person. Yeah. But I think her like being fed up with maybe he was only focused on writing, and so it didn't allow her to
or it put all of their relationship on the back burner because he was focused on writing, and maybe she was wanting more of that connection, but he wasn't giving it to her. And so she started nagging at him, and then he was like, okay, well, I'm not good enough. I'm going to go cheat on you.
Yeah, that very well could be.
Possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then they jump back on the road after leaving his mom's house, and they go to a hotel.
Yeah, they said, well, they stay at a hotel, and before that, like, they go to this one place where he's like,
they stop at a wine place for
yeah, he's trying to like get Jack into like, oh, like, this is how you taste wine. This is all of the properties and all of this stuff. And he seems very uninterested in knowing how to taste wine, which what is his name? Paul actor? I don't know their name.
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah. His character is a wine snob. So anytime he goes to drink wine, like, he's like, this is what you got to do every time. But he wasn't doing that. He didn't want to do that. Jack did not want to do that. He just wanted to drink and get drunk.
But I mean, you find out shortly after that Jack's only goal
is to
through this
cheat
whole
on his
is
fiance.
to get one last fling in there before he's tied down forever.
Well, he
right?
gets two in, so.
Well, he's not there for wine. He's not there for golf or any other reason. You find out what this dude what he's going after.
Yeah.
Looking at cast. Miles. Yeah, that was his name. Miles is Paul Giamatti's character.
Okay. But, so Miles is a snob, and Jack does not care about that at all. So they do this little bit where he's like, okay, like, you got to smell the wine, take a good whiff. And then you can tell he's like, I just want to drink it. And then they drink it, and then they leave. And then they go to the hitch post, hiking.
Yeah, the hitch post where the waitress. But I want to stop right there for a second.
Okay.
When they're there tasting the wine at that first place, you see the way Miles lights up when the wine comes out, and he's not an alcoholic.
Yeah,
he's really like, you look at the color of it, you put your nose in the glass. Mm-hmm. You really do believe that he loves wine, and this is like the thing that he's most passionate about. Yeah. Even more so than writing, being a high school teacher, anything. Yeah. It's the only time you see him happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because everything else around his life is depressing or sad.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out real quick.
Yeah. He definitely, it is what he cares about the most. And I think he wants to find someone who, he's scared to find someone, first of all. He thinks he's scared to find someone new.
Yes, he's very afraid to put himself back out.
Yeah, which they go to this restaurant after the hitch post, hiking post.
The hitch post, I think, is the name of the restaurant they go to.
Oh, okay. So they go to this restaurant, and they're eating food and drinking wine and talking to the bartender about why they're there, which Miles tells them, like, oh yeah, we're here for his bachelor party. Yeah. Like bachelor week.
Bachelor
They're gone
week
for a while.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 days at least.
Well, they leave on Friday, I think, and then they come back on Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're gone a whole entire week.
There must have been some big time jumps in there. Like, there must have been
or maybe
like
it
a couple
days,
like a couple of days in one of the time jumps had to have gone by.
Maybe they even leave on Saturday. That's possible too.
No, who cares?
Yeah,
it's not that important.
But so they go to this place, and then Jack is like, "Oh, like, that waitress is fine," and Paul. Miles. Oh my gosh. Miles is like trying to be like, oh, well, she's actually married. You can't be with her. And saying all these things about this woman. And you find out that Miles likes Maya.
Yeah. He does like Maya, but he doesn't really you don't get the idea that he really has romantic feelings for her. It's just like, yeah, she's cool.
Platonic.
Yeah, she's cool, but she's married. Like, he makes it a big
Yeah.
point to say that she's married and that he's not going to fuck around with
Yeah.
a married woman, which is sort of his save the cat moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what save the cat moment
No.
is? There was this famous screenwriting book that came out years ago that people get into when they first want to write screenplays, when they first decide they want to fail at that. And they gave funny names for everything. Save the cat is what your main character does at the beginning of the movie to show that they're a good person.
Oh, okay.
So there's a cat in trouble, you save the cat. And the audience goes, oh, hey, that's a good guy.
Oh, okay. Well, he tries to. Jack wants him to go after her, even though she's married, and Miles is like, "No, she's not. She's taken." And then later on, they sit at the bar, and Maya comes up after her shift and is drinking a glass of wine with them. Or she's not with them. She just sits down at the bar, lights a cigarette, and starts drinking some wine. And then Jack is like, "Oh, come on over, join us." So she joins them. And they talk more. And you can tell right away that she likes Miles, not necessarily in a romantic way, but in definitely a platonic way. In a way that she is keen on him.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell that they there is some history between them, but not very much. And it's very much been like transactional.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So they have a common interest that they know.
Sorry.
It's okay. Aaron was making funny faces over the microphone at me.
I'm never close enough.
She's never close enough to the microphone.
I'm never close enough to the microphone.
You need to be uncomfortably close to the microphone.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. It sounds fine. It's just I watch your little waveform get smaller and smaller as the podcast goes. But anyway.
Well, I think because the first time I was so loud, and you were like, "You need to quiet down."
Well, that's
So now I'm nervous to be too loud.
Well, you wouldn't like control the level of your voice when we first started, but now you do control the level of your voice, but you drift further from the microphone as the podcast goes on.
I'm sorry.
But we also don't have proper microphone stands. Guys, this is a whole DIY thing. Nobody's paying us to do this. We don't have a lot of money, so please forgive us. Anyway, so they are sitting at the bar, and you can tell Paul Giamatti starts to feel uncomfortable immediately. But Jack is just a full free spirit, and they're talking, and he says, "Oh, I don't do physical acting anymore." Wait, what does he say?
Oh, he says he does commercials. He does commercial stuff.
Yeah.
And then he does the impressions of, fine, 99% off on your AARP.
I remember he says like 5.8 APR.
Yeah.
And she goes, "You sound like just one of those. You sound just like one of those guys." And he goes, "I am one of those guys." I thought it was a really funny exchange. I liked it.
Yeah. And then later on, they go back to the hotel, and Jack tells Miles, "Oh, she didn't have a rock on her finger. So she's single, possibly,
Ooh, possibly,
or something's
question
happening."
mark.
So I don't even know how they get back from the hotel into the next day, where they see. Oh no, they just go touring some more.
Yeah. They just go drink some more wine, I think.
Yeah, so they go to several other places to try wine, and they go to this one place where Jack meets Sandra Oh.
Yeah, her name is Stephanie in the movie.
Yeah. So he meets Stephanie, and they hit it off somewhat. He gives her her number, or he gives her his number, and they find out, oh, well, she knows Maya, so we are going to all go hang out later. So Miles is kind of like, oh God, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then later on, they go to this restaurant that's not the Hitch Post.
No, they go to a different, I think, was it more fancy?
It did look more fancy, but they were drinking all this wine, and he also had some pills before he walked in because he was really nervous.
Yeah. He asked him if he had Xanax outside, which is Xanax is a pretty what's the word?
Straw.
It's a pretty strong anti-anxiety drug. If you take too much, you will not remember shit, because I've done it.
Okay, I've never taken it, so I have no idea. But
Well, I didn't take it because I had anxiety.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So they're outside of the restaurant before they go in, and Jack is like, hey, like, we're going to have fun tonight. We're going to do what we want. And if the girls want Merlot, we're going to get Merlot. And is that a famous line?
Yeah. After this movie, I worked at Blockbuster Video when this movie came out.
Okay.
And tons of people were renting it, but that was the line that everybody remembered from this movie. I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot.
I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot.
And like, he delivers it really well. I
Yeah.
love the way he delivers it. And that line might have been what made Merlot dip in sales by 2%.
Probably. So,
can you imagine the person who's watching this movie and is like at home drinking a bottle of Merlot and hears that and be like,
this is shitty
fuck?
wine.
I need to get some Pinot.
Is it Pinot Grigio or Pinot Noir? What is the difference? I don't even know.
I have no clue.
Okay.
Pinot Noir, like noir means black or dark.
Okay.
And Grigio, I don't know what that means.
Okay.
So.
Grainy. I don't know. I have no clue what wine terms are.
It does make me want to go and see, like, get a bottle of Pinot and get a bottle of Merlot.
Yeah.
Be like,
try them out.
What's the difference? Okay, they're both getting me drunk, so screw it.
Yeah. So they go in and they're having wine. Him and Maya are talking about wine stuff, and he gets real drunk.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And he's on Xanax too, which
is going to loosen your inhibitions even further.
And then he goes to the bathroom, quote unquote, and calls his ex-wife, Vicky.
Mm-hmm.
And that experience of calling someone when you're drunk is such a visceral thing, I think, especially for our generation, because calling people on their cell phones and being like, hey, or like texting.
Well,
drunk.
yeah, I was just about to say, for this generation, it's drunk texting.
Yeah.
So bad.
But they contact them and they're like, I can't even really remember what they say. I know that he says like, oh, I heard you're going to the wedding. That's why he was also nervous, because he found out Vicky was going to the wedding.
Right. Yeah, he tells him, and he's really upset about it.
Yeah.
And they're on the side of that hill, and he grabs a bottle and just runs down a hill.
Whenever he was running down that hill, I was like, how is he not spilling that wine all over the place? Especially when he was trying to drink it.
Yeah, I know.
And then by the time he gets down, he throws the bottle and it's all empty. And it's like, how'd you drink all that quick?
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Some people thought that was a nod to My Little Prairie.
I don't know that.
It was some TV show that I never saw, but like him running down the hill was supposed to be some nod to My Little Prairie.
Okay.
My Little Prairie. No, not My
Little Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie.
My Little Prairie.
I remember
New
that
show.
show. I remember My Little Home on the whatever. the fuck
Little
it was
House
called.
on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie.
I was named after one of the characters.
You were?
Yeah.
I thought it was the Waltons or something.
Oh, maybe. There's a character in a TV show called Aaron. So,
Tell the story.
well, my dad.
It's not really a story.
Yeah, my dad named me because of a TV show that he used to watch when he was little. And every time, like, people, I hate that I was named after some hillbilly show. I mean, there's not really much to the story except that I'm named after a character from a hillbilly TV show.
Yeah, it was Aaron Walton from the Waltons,
What is that even
1972.
show about?
I don't know. Let's find out. All right, this segment is going to be called "Getting to Know Your Hosts." Okay, so no, I don't want to read about the actor. I want to read about the Waltons.
My little Walton.
My Little Walton's house on the Walton Street. The Waltons is an American historical drama television series about a family in rural Virginia during the Great Depression and World War II. It was created by Earl Hamner Jr. based on his 1961 book Spencer Mountain and the 1963 film of the same name.
Okay.
And then, like, this is a picture of him.
Okay. They do look like hillbillies a little bit.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, my dad named me.
Okay, so you're named after a character on the Waltons.
Such a lame way to be named. Like, people are named after their family. Well, I mean, my middle name is after my grandma, but that's such a common middle name. My middle name is Marie, and so everyone, like, if I say, "Oh, my middle name starts with M," everyone's like, "It's Marie." Yes, because it's so common.
I want to tell somebody that our daughter is named after a prison.
Joliet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's a Joliet prison.
Nice.
So,
but
but
it's not spelled the same.
But anytime anybody asks her name and they know my name, they're like, "Oh, I know where that came from."
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, back to the movie.
So, he's nervous because his ex-wife is going to the wedding, and he finds out she was remarried, and that really screws him up. So they take Xanax, they go to this thing. He's drunk and high, and he calls his ex-wife.
Yeah, and then he goes back to rejoin his party, and they can tell that something's very obviously wrong with him. And the women, they go to the bathroom, sensing that they need to have a bro talk.
Yeah, they need to powder their noses.
They need to powder the noses.
If you know what I mean.
And then Thomas Hayden Church, Jack has to give him a pep talk to get back into it. And he's like, "Look, this chick really likes it. Don't blow it for yourself.
Yeah,
but especially don't blow it for me."
So they come back and they're like, "Oh, we're going to go back to Stephanie's house. Y'all can join us." And they're like, "Okay, great." So they leave the restaurant, and Miles does not seem like he wants to go.
No, he definitely does not want to go.
But he goes with them anyways, and Stephanie and Jack start hanging out, giggling away, and Miles and Maya start talking.
Yep. And one of my favorite parts from the early part of that scene is you hear Jack in the background going, 5% APR. And Stephanie's laughing at him. That's so funny. It's like a fun little detail.
Yeah. And then they start moaning.
Ooh, yeah. Well, Miles and Maya, they're talking, and it's, getting pretty interesting, but then they hear them having sex, and they're like, "Oh, we need to go outside."
Yeah. And they're also drinking a bunch of wine. And she finds out that he has this, like, I guess, a special wine from like 61.
Yeah, a 1961 Blanca Vercherneuve.
I don't know what it's called.
I don't know what it's either, but it's supposed to be a really special bottle of wine, and it's peaking right now. And he says, "I've just waited for the right time." To which she says, "Opening that bottle
is a special occasion."
Yeah,
in
it
itself.
is. Which I thought, I love that line because it's
she
true.
has some really good lines in this movie.
Yeah, she does. But I just mean generally, do you ever apply that to your own life?
No.
Do you, or are you the type of person who's like, I gotta save this for a special occasion, or put things off, and you tell yourself, "Oh, when I'm this, then I'll take that vacation."
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that a lot, actually. I'll take my vacation days when I'm actually sick, which I had to this week. But
you have sick days, right?
Yeah, I have sick days.
Okay. Well, we don't need to get in the details of your job. But anyway, that's something that I used to do to myself a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't take vacations or, do the things that I wanted to do. And then you go through these periods where you don't have any money and you literally just can't do it. And you think back like, well, I could have done it. I could have gone to New York when I lived in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I could have driven there.
Yeah.
It would have been a long drive, but I could have done it. Mm-hmm. This is a real thing. These are real things. Let's get real.
Real things.
These are real things
Real
that
things
I've
with
thought
Joey
about. But I try not to do that anymore.
Is that your end of your thought?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, anyway, just
So
thought,
they go out. So they go out to the patio and they're drinking their wine and talking, and then they go back inside and he kisses her,
yeah.
and then she's like,
Well,
she
no.
doesn't-
You're glossing over it a little bit. They get into a pretty deep discussion about wine because she asked him, like, "Why are you a Pinot guy?" It sounds like penis. Why are you a penis guy?
Are you a penis guy or a vagina guy?
Ooh. Do you like?
Ask a nicer way to ask if someone's gay. Are you a penis guy or a vagina guy?
That's good. I'm gonna never use that because I'm married. But anyway, so he goes on
Better
this.
not have to use that. I'll beat you up.
Oh, I'll ask another guy that, but not another woman.
Okay.
Anyway,
Well, I mean, that would be different.
but he goes on this long rant about like Pinot and how it can only grow in certain places, and you need
It's very delicate.
Yeah, you need a good producer who really, really cares about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like it's a like his metaphor for how relationships would work.
Yeah.
Or maybe for himself. I don't know. What did you think?
Well, I think he just, I do think he cares more about wine and like all of those detailing things than most of the other things in his life, which is kind of frustrating that he's like, oh yeah, I'm still going to be a teacher and a writer, even though he cares about this other thing so much. And yes, I do feel like they're kind of like hinting at like, okay, well, this is what his life was like. Cause he does say in that he does say something about relationships at the end of that little monologue, because he says, oh, God damn, what does he say?
No, I don't remember.
After he says like, it's very delicate and damn, I want to look up that monologue.
It's good though. And I will say monologues in movies don't often work well.
Yeah.
But this one really did. It really drew you in, and it really made you think that he was talking about wine, but he was also talking about life and relationships, and because he doesn't even seem to care for himself as much as he does wine. But then also, Maya's character also gets into
why she is into wine. She
yeah.
said hers, I think, is more so about her relationship, because that's where that actually comes from. So when she's talking about the wine, she says that my ex-husband had a fancy wine cellar. He had a collection, and she tasted a wine and she found out she had a sharp palate. And then she discovered that I keep getting lost in what this monologue is talking about, but she does talk about her relationship with her husband and how she discovered he was a fraud in himself. Like he was putting on this front when that's not really who he was. And she said that wine is living. It's a living thing. And she felt her husband wasn't a living thing. He was not an object, but he was a portrayal, I guess.
Yeah.
You could say.
Well, it's almost like these two characters found a higher power through wine.
Yes.
Because they love it more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of starts their bond in it.
Yeah. Because then he goes in the bathroom and he when he comes out, he kisses her.
Yeah.
And she's like, I gotta go.
Yeah, yeah. She's not mad, but she's like, I can't be doing this right now.
Yeah.
So it was subtle in a way. It made you wonder, like, what was going through her head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't want Miles to blow it. Like, you want to see this dude happy.
Yeah. And I think because before he kissed her, she said we probably should go, and so I think she was already preset and like, it's late, I need to go home. Which there are people that are like that, because I mean, you're like that. If you are at home or if you're somewhere with people, you know when you're done. You can say, I'm going home now. And that's what it is. Whereas I feel like I'm not like that. Like, I don't know when to say, that's enough. I need to go home. Unless I'm vomiting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you mean like when you're partying?
No, like even just in general, like if I went to go stay, like to hang out with a friend, like it would keep going and going until they say, okay, you should go home. Like I don't know why. It was something that I experienced, and I didn't experience someone being like, hey, like it's time for you to go home until because you were like, okay, we're good. Go home.
Oh yeah, I'm not afraid to tell people to leave. I'm not afraid to tell people I'm leaving.
I am.
But I used to be like that, but then I found out like nobody fucking cares.
Yeah. Well, whenever we first met and you did that, I was like, oh, he has boundaries. Because a lot of people don't. And I think the reason that I don't do that or never did that, I do it a little bit more now since I've been with you, but I think it's because my family doesn't know when to say that's enough. My family just keeps going and going and going.
Your family, I can attest to this after being married to you for 5+ years, that they don't have the same boundaries that a lot of people have.
They don't have barely any boundaries. So when I think the first time you like not kicked me out, but like we're like, hey, it's time for you to go. Like we were watching wrestling or something, and you're like, and we were drinking, talking, having fun, and you're like, okay, I'm ready for bed. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Are you going to ask me to stay the night? That's what I thought in my head. I don't know about the first. I don't
wrestling thing.
I don't know.
Wow, that would have been so fast if you wanted to stay
I
the night
know.
at my house.
Well, because I'm just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna hang out. I never had boundaries. I never put up boundaries.
Yeah.
I was exhausted too. I was like, I'm tired. And you were like, you should probably go home. And I'm like, yeah, I should go home.
Yeah. Well, I always have some reason I can tell somebody like, it's getting late. I got school tomorrow. Because I was in college at the time.
Yeah.
And since I went to college later in life, I was much more responsible. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I have to go to bed at a certain time, and I have to stop. I'm not going to stay up all night, writing papers and shit.
Yeah. But so I think Maya is like that, like in that way of like, I know my boundaries. I know when to say no. She knows her limits. She knows what she should do. And she says, okay, I like Miles. I know he's drunk. I don't want to mess this up. So she's like, I got to go. But you find out later that she messages Stephanie and is like, yeah, I liked him a lot. I want to hang out again. Because Stephanie says that she's interested in him after Miles goes back home, and Jack and Stephanie finally come back to the hotel.
Yeah. I mean, she says she has to leave, but she continues to show platonic interest. Like he says, oh, do you still want to read my book? And she says, yeah.
She stops at the end of the road and says, oh, okay, so you take 2 rights and a left.
Yeah.
So just to make sure he knows where to go, because she knows he's drunk. And he goes, do you still want to read my book? So she says yes. And he takes out 2 huge boxes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some books are so long they need 2 shoe boxes.
They look like picture boxes. They were huge.
Yeah, they were really big.
So then after he goes back to the hotel, he goes to sleep, and he wakes up to Jack's phone being like ringing, and his fiance is calling him several times. She leaves several messages. She even starts calling the hotel, but Jack's not there. He's with he's with Stephanie.
Yeah, and then Paul Giamatti has to make him listen to the messages.
Yes.
He's starting to turn into like the angry dad on vacation, sort of. He's getting into that mode. And he's like, no, you need to call your wife.
Your fiance.
Then, yeah. Fiance. I don't like that word.
Fiance.
No.
Fiance.
There's my fiance. Ooh.
My fiance.
You la-di-da. You little your fiance, huh?
Fiance. Bonjour.
But anyway, he goes outside and he sees Stephanie and he's being all standoffish and shit. And then Jack walks out, and he's like, "Oh, I got lucky. It went straight to voicemail." It's like this guy is ready to just turn his back on his fiance. It's like, as the movie goes on, at first you're like, okay, maybe there's a little bit of humanity in this guy.
No, he has none. I hate him.
It just keeps plucking away. You're like, maybe there's some little vestige left, but there never is.
No, not even till the end. Like at the end when they're at the wedding, I'm like, he's such a fucking piece of shit. How dare he marry her?
Well, he doesn't do anything at the wedding.
I know, but still, like it's like, ah!
Yes. Yeah, he really should have just, he shouldn't have married anybody.
For real. He should live a single life for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like he could be committed at all.
You see what I mean by like him. I'm saying how I said he was a parasite.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, he totally is. He's just leeching off of everybody. Mm-hmm. So then,
because that house is not his house. That's her parents' house.
Yeah, they mentioned that his fiance's father is like a wealthy businessman.
I don't remember what business it was.
I want to say car dealerships, but I don't think that was right.
No.
But anyway, so he's marrying into a really good family. His fiance is very attractive. Mm-hmm. I think that was Armenian. Didn't they say that was Armenian? Okay.
Jack comes in. He calls his wife, or he tries to call his fiance, but she doesn't answer. And he's like, "Okay, I'm going to go hang out with Stephanie again." And he's like, "Well, we're supposed to go golfing." And he goes, "Well, go do it by yourself. Do all that fun stuff by yourself. I'm going to go hang out with Stephanie." So he goes and hangs out with Stephanie, and he says, "Call me later if you're gonna go out." Yeah.
They meet up at the hitching post, right?
I think so. Because he was like, "Oh, well, we can get a table with Maya and all this other stuff."
No, yeah, but he doesn't. And Miles goes to the hitching post by himself, hoping Maya will be there, and
she's not.
Yeah.
And so he asks the bartender, like, "Oh, where's Maya?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't think she had to work today." But then that night, I think Jack comes back in some capacity and says like, "Oh, well, we're going to hang out tomorrow with Maya at a winery." Yeah. So they go to this winery, and Stephanie's like, you can tell Stephanie is a wild person. She's very energetic. She's not, I wouldn't say wild. She is ambitious, I would say. So like, she's going to do what she wants. Even when she has her kid at her house and they're over there.
I wouldn't call that ambition. I would say she's more of a free spirit.
Yeah.
Like you go to her house and her house isn't dirty, but there's a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's an interesting character. We don't spend enough time with her, I feel like. But she doesn't really have an arc anyway.
But she does what she wants. Like when they're at the winery, like she sneaks them back in the back part of it, and they start making out while Maya and Miles start talking and stuff. And then I'm not sure. I think they go back to her house, and that's when you see her daughters there. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, let's skip ahead a little bit. So everybody's hanging out, and they're hanging out as groups, they're hanging out as couples, and things are going pretty well. Like they're having a honeymoon period. But then all of a sudden, they're hanging out at some orchard, Maya and Miles, and she's like, "Maybe you guys could stay another day," or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like Thursday night or something.
Yeah, and he says, "We have to get back for the rehearsal dinner." And at this point, nobody knew besides them that
Jack was gonna get married.
Yeah.
So then Maya tells she tells Stephanie about Jack being married, and the next morning, after Miles drops Maya off, because he stays the night at her house that night, and then they go to the orchard the next day. Then he goes back to the hotel, and Jack is already there, and he's like, "Oh, did you sleep with Maya? Like, tell me all about it." And he's upset because he just told Maya about the wedding. And then Stephanie pulls up, and then that's when she beats the shit out of Jack.
Yeah.
For cheating, or for
being married and lying to her.
Exactly.
And you find out he's been saying that he loves her and he wants to
be with her, and he loves her
indefinitely,
daughter, and
yeah.
all this,
and they're
other
gonna
stuff.
move in together and run a vineyard and
yeah.
all this stuff. Yeah, he was just weaving an insane magic spell, and
Oh, absolutely. They also keep saying like, oh, well, he's a good liar because he's an actor, and I'm like, I don't know if like actors make good liars, but
no, he's a good liar because he does it a lot.
exactly. Actors are not good liars. Nor are liars good actors, but he is a really good liar, which is scary because there are people that are like that.
Oh yeah,
good liars.
It's easy to lie if you
Makes
believe
me
it.
really happy that you're not a good liar.
Oh, I can be if I want to be.
Please don't be.
No, lying is wrong, and it makes your life worse than it does
Exactly.
better. But it's just I like that he's the stereotype of an actor too in this movie, which I thought a lot about because like that stereotype about actors is that they're dumb.
Yeah.
And they just like pretending to be other people and stuff. Like he is that. He's a dumb actor.
Yeah.
And he got into this role of being this guy and living in a vineyard and with this woman who's a free spirit, He really did. It kills me.
Yeah. So she beats him up and she breaks his nose.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has to go to the hospital and get his nose adjusted, or he has to let it heal, and then they have to break it again to fix it. That's what he says coming out of I guess the doctor or hospital. Mm-hmm. And then that night they go to a different restaurant, and it's more of like a chain type of restaurant. And so they go to this chain restaurant, and
it's like Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah. California Roadhouse. But he meets this waiter or waitress, and she's a very average looking woman. And he's like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful and all this other stuff. I'm like, she's
okay. All right. Well, let's slow down. We're just telling points of the movie at this point.
Well, no. Yeah.
So I want to go back and, so after he fucks up and tells Maya that they have to go to the rehearsal dinner, they have a good conversation. And she's like, my marriage was screwed up, was based on lies.
Yeah.
So she's now revealing that her husband wasn't just fake or a false person. He was a liar.
Yeah.
Which you can't have a relationship based on lies, is what she's basically saying. But then Paul Giamatti says something that's pretty interesting. He says he hasn't been with any woman since his divorce.
Yeah.
And that Jack is his freshman year college roommate from San Diego State or something like that. And this guy has had a hold on him because they're both middle-aged.
Yeah.
They're old. I'm almost 40 and they're older than me, I think, in this movie. So that means Jack has had a hold on him for all this time.
Yeah.
And Jack is the one who forces him to go along with all these lies.
Exactly.
And stuff like that. It makes you feel really bad for him because it's like this relationship that's really has something real might be ruined because of his
of his friend.
Not just his friend, his college roommate.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't even call him his friend.
True.
I just thought that was interesting. And I really and at this point I am rooting for Giamatti's character.
Oh,
more.
yeah, absolutely. I think everyone is like, I don't care that he cheated on his wife because that's something that was said. He did cheat on his wife, but he seems genuine, which it's still, every time I think about like, oh, well, that was nice of him, but he also cheated on his wife. So that just keeps popping in my head. Every time I hear about like people that cheat, that I just can't get that out of my head.
Yeah, it's really unforgivable.
Yeah.
To me, and
Same.
for a lot of people, maybe wasn't a good thing to put in his past, but
Yeah.
whatever.
I feel like they definitely could have done something, made his relationship falter because of something else. Especially because they don't really go into much detail. Like, even if they just didn't bring up, like, oh, that you cheated on your wife at one point. Like, maybe that's why you cheated. Because that's what Jack says. He says, well, she nagged you all the time. That's why you cheated on her in the first place.
Yeah. But I mentioned that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily be for nagging. Maybe he was just a shitty husband.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But I feel like being a shitty husband is better than cheating on your wife.
100% sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the lowest you can go in a relationship, in my opinion. There's not much more you could do.
Same.
Lying and cheating. Let's jump back now to they're at the restaurant. They're at the restaurant with all the taxidermed animals. But they're at the restaurant with all the taxidermied animals everywhere. And here Jack has not learned any lesson from before, and he's just going right back into his whole thing. Like, I'm a famous actor. It's like, oh, maybe you remember Dr. Charles Stubner or something,
whatever his name is in the soap opera.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh my god, she gets really excited.
Yeah,
and
also he says that he didn't know that she. Well, so he starts hitting on this woman, and previously he saw Maya not have a ring. So he's looking for people that don't have rings. So he looks at this woman and is like, oh, I'm going to go after her. And they go, he does. He literally leaves Miles hanging so that he can go hang out with this woman at her house and do it again.
Yeah. He says, my funny, the line I wanted to say a minute ago was Miles is like annoyed by this, so he's like, where's the bathroom? And she goes, it's right past the buffalo.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, he's right. You're right. He's just pursuing this woman, and he goes like, you just go back to the hotel, and she gets off in an hour, so I'm just going to wait for her. Right. And again, you're just like, man, but this guy just will not stop.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then so he goes back to the hotel, and
that's was one of the reasons I was bringing up. Like, she's not conventionally attractive. She's not ugly at all. The waitress that he's talking to, like, she's average. She's very average looking, but he like boosts her up like she's I don't know. I was about to say Xenon.
Xenon. I don't even know what a Xenon is.
No, I was thinking, what was that Amazon princess that started with a Z? Xena, the warrior princess? Yes.
Oh man.
That's what he was like, boosting her up like she's this like magnificent creature. And she's very average.
Yeah.
So you can tell that he's like, he just wants to fuck whatever he wants.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's just trying to get it out before he gets married.
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally is. And he's not even lying to this woman and telling her that, they're going to have some big romance or whatever.
Exactly.
He's just like, I'm just going to go home with her. She probably knows that he's going to be gone the next day. Mm-hmm. But then I don't remember what happens, but Paul Giamatti is in the hotel room.
Yeah.
And it's dark, and he hears a pounding at the door.
Yeah.
And he opens the door, and Jack is there naked.
Yeah.
Holding his dick and balls in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And you find out that he left his wallet there because her husband came home.
Yeah, so her husband came in, and first of all, I think he does say like, oh, she's married, but I'm still going to hang out with her anyways.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he does.
It really shows how much of a piece of shit he is.
He said it was 5:00 and her husband wasn't supposed to come home until 6. And Paul Giamatti's like, well, you cut it pretty close, didn't
Yeah, for real. He runs, he says he runs all the way from where he was to the hotel. And he's naked, his nose is broken.
Remember, he said he ran through an ostrich farm,
Yeah.
and those motherfuckers are mean.
It's a really good moment for Miles to be like, yeah, you're a piece of work.
Yeah, he laughs at him and like makes fun of him and shit. It's really great.
But he finds out that, Jack realizes that he doesn't have his wallet. It's at their house. And his wedding rings for the next day are in there. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess not for the next day, for the next 2 days.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
But the best part about that scene is that Jack just completely loses it, and he's crying and saying, I can't lose her. And it's all just crocodile tears because, it's like, well, if you were so worried about losing your future wife, why would you cheat on her?
Much?
You were ready to leave her behind for
real.
Sandra Oh just 2 minutes ago. Yeah, it's really funny. And again, he's just a parasite.
Yeah.
And they get to the house, and he's like, well, you got to go in there. And he's
Yeah.
like, why do I have to go in there? It's your wallet.
Yeah. And he's like, well, he knows he knows it's me and everything. He's like, what? And it doesn't matter. I'm some stranger. And so he sneaks in the back. Because the front door's locked, and he knocks on it, but nobody answers. So he goes around the back and he opens the door, and he hears that woman moaning. And so her and her husband are getting off to her cheating.
Yeah. So you find out that they have a cuckold kink. And so she'll bring home guys to cheat on her husband.
Yeah.
And he comes in and finds them, and like that's what they're into.
Yeah.
Which is I really love that twist a lot. That's a lot of fun. I love it anytime they put a weird sexual kink in a movie.
Yeah.
It's great. And so he notices that the wallet is in the same room where they're
Yes. So they must have gone through his stuff, taken his wallet out, and then put it in their room. Because then they knew he steals the wallet, because he's sneaking in. He's sneaking low, and they're doing it right in front of him. And so he's like, okay, I got to count to 3, and runs and grabs the wallet and runs out. And they're like, he has the wallet. So that was exactly what they wanted. They wanted that wallet.
Yeah,
know
it turns out they have
before.
a cuckold fetish, and they like to steal people's wallets.
I guess.
Yeah. Also, I thought it was so weird. He's like, my wedding rings, my super expensive wedding rings, I've had them in my wallet this whole time.
The entire time.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. Like, that's the one thing in this movie. It's like, do you really, guys? Really?
Yeah. Well, I guess he was like, it's safekeeping.
That's not safekeeping.
Exactly.
People steal wallets.
Exactly. And also, like, initially, Miles is like, oh, Mom, we can't go back. Like, just say they stole your wallet. So he's like, I can't. The rings are in there. And he's like, well, that's what happens, dude. You fucked up. You did this.
Yeah,
and
he's just like, he basically says like, well, just lie your way out of that too.
For real.
Yeah. But anyway, I wanted to talk about how Paul Giamatti's character at this point, like, he's laughing at his friend.
Uh-huh.
He's making fun. He's just writing stuff off. And then he makes the choice to go in there. He's like, he's suddenly has this carpe diem thing going on. And I think it was because he got semi-rejected by Maya.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you know what? I'm still fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still...
What am I going to lose?
Yeah, I haven't lost anything by doing that. So he's kind of has this new lease on life.
Yeah.
And he's found out that his book wasn't being published.
Yeah.
That's the one part we didn't we
did skip over that.
Yeah. But he finds out his book isn't being published, and it's another really great scene because he goes to this wine tasting place. He's like, fill me up, give me a full pour.
And he's like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You got to buy the bottle.
Well, he wasn't even like, you got to buy the bottle. He goes, this isn't a bar.
Yeah.
And then he dumps the spit bucket on himself. Yeah. Just to like make a point of like, I'm going to get drunk.
No matter what you say. But also, the other thing about the book thing is he's lying to Maya and Stephanie about, well, Jack lied about his book. And he's like, I don't want to lie about it. I don't want to lie about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. And so it not happening is just like the cherry on top of like, Jack, you really fucked me up because I like this woman, but she thinks I'm going to be an author. So he also like writes her a letter and says like, oh, my book's not getting published. I told you, or he leaves a message on her answering machine or something to tell her like, hey, like, I'm sorry about all this stuff that happened, but like.
Well, he does write her a letter, but I don't think they ever say what was in it.
Yeah.
It was probably just like a full confession.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, it's probably what it was. Yeah. That was a good scene. Like, what do you think was going on with him when he found out his book wasn't getting published?
Well, I mean, like, that's what he's put all his work into. Like, even at school, like, he's just sitting, like, whenever you do see him at school that one time, his kids are reading to him and they're like, do you want me to move on to the next chapter? And he's like, no, we'll do it next week. He's very lackadaisical about everything going on in his life except for his writing.
No, I don't think he seems all that enthused about his writing either, to be honest. I kind of feel like he made up in his head a long time ago that he's going to be a writer and he's going to get something published at some point. But it's not really what he loves. I don't think he loves to write.
Yeah.
You know?
I think people told him that he's such a good writer, so he's like, I guess that's what I have to do. Maybe
it could be. But I think like when that he finally gets that call, is like everything I was supposed to be, like a husband, like have a successful wife and a life, and the book not going through was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. And he's just like, I'm nothing. I'm a nobody.
Yeah.
And everything I was supposed to be is come crashing down.
Yeah, I definitely think that's very plausible.
Yeah. And then when they're sitting by the ocean and he's saying something like, my life is just a smear of excrement or something. And then his friend Jack was like, well, that's pretty good writing. I like that.
He's like, it's not even mine.
He says it's Charles Bukowski, which I looked online and that's not Charles Bukowski. That was actually written by the guy who wrote the novel, because this is based on a novel.
Oh.
So, just in case anybody was wondering, if you tried looking up that Charles Bukowski poem. Oh, yeah. He steals the wallet. Mm-hmm. And then the guy chases him out naked.
Exactly. And also, I want y'all to know that our 7-year-old daughter came out of the room right after you saw this guy's dick. Thankfully, she did not see anything because it was literally right after it happened. So it had passed. And she walks out and I was like, oh my gosh, if she was here like 2 seconds earlier, she would have seen a full-fledged grown man's penis.
She would have seen a fully naked man running down the street. Yeah.
So that was interesting. that was a more memorable part of the movie.
Oh, the wonders of parenting. So then they take off and they're headed home. They're headed home at this point.
Yeah.
And you think it's pretty much over. Mm-hmm. But then
and Jack's like, oh, well, let me drive. And he keeps consisting, like, let me drive.
Yeah. They also set up a little earlier. They're like, what is this? He says, what does this look like? And he says, looks like you've been in a car accident.
Yeah.
So he thinks about that.
And he wrecks his car into a tree.
Yeah.
But it's not even like badly damaged.
No, it's not, because he doesn't hit it that fast.
Yeah.
And it's a Saab, Saabs are built pretty tough.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Actually, I don't know. They're like a Swedish car or something. They don't exist anymore. But I remember he's like, oh, hey, put your seatbelt on, buddy. He's like, why? He's like, oh, I just want you to be safe. And then he hits the tree right after.
But after that, they're like, well, this isn't enough damage. And
that's right.
They try to run his car back into the tree, like with more gas. But it misses the tree and goes off into a ditch. Yeah. Which I guess is enough damage. They didn't do anything else.
Well, they also mow over somebody's fence.
Yeah.
It just reasserts the fact that these guys are losers and they can't do anything right.
But they finally get back and then the wedding happens. Mm-hmm. And then you see Miles just like in his regular everyday life. Yep.
Also, when they get back, they go to his fiance's family's house.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, everything's set up. He's like, don't pull out until they get to see the car.
Yeah.
To explain his face and all that. So they think he's not lying. And then all of a sudden, Miles turns around and goes, oh, wait, why didn't I get hurt? And he goes, because you were wearing your seatbelt, buddy. Which I thought was another great line, because it's like people who aren't risky and stupid in life and relationships, they're wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah.
So they don't get hurt. Like he didn't rush it with Maya and try to lie to her and be something he wasn't. So he was wearing his seatbelt when he got rejected.
Yeah. But he wasn't wearing it before they wrecked.
No.
He had to put it on.
Yeah, and then we get to the wedding, and he runs into his ex-wife.
But yeah, I really didn't want Miles to stoop to Jack's level and everything. So I was really happy that he apologized to Maya.
Yes,
about it all.
And he completely came clean. I think. Weren't we saying that with the letter that was probably a full confession?
And then he was saying that he wasn't going to go to the wedding when he found out Victoria was going to be there, and he decided to go to the wedding. I think he's the best man at the wedding.
Yes, he is the best man.
And so he sees Victoria, he meets her husband, and everything seems okay. And then I think he calls Maya one more time, or maybe he sends her a letter, and he goes back home after work. That's what it was.
Yeah, he gets a message from her.
Yeah, after work, he comes home and he gets this message saying, like, I got your letter. Thank you. It was really beautiful. And they meet up again. Or they plan to meet up again.
Yeah, they plan to meet up again. I don't think it ever shows them together again.
No, but it does show him going to her house, like walking up her steps.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It does.
Yeah.
Which is a nice ending.
Yeah.
I really liked it. When he speaks to his wife, they don't really exchange anything that I think is all that important.
No.
It's really just to show him, like, keeping it.
He's moved on.
Yeah. Or he's trying to, at least. Like, he's taken the first few steps in it.
Yeah.
And they don't, but it's really just so, like, he holds it together. He doesn't freak out, which that's what he does throughout the whole movie when anything goes wrong for him. Or
especially, like, surrounding her as a person. Everything that surrounds Victoria, he freaks out about. Like, when his mom brought her up, he freaks out. When Jack brings up her going to the wedding, he freaks out. When he brings up that she's already been married, he freaks out.
Yeah.
And in that moment, she even reveals, like, oh, I'm actually pregnant.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great. I'm
but
glad for you.
You can see it's in his
bothering
face.
him.
It's a hard shot to take, but he takes it, is the point that I'm trying to make. Like, he's taking his shots right now.
Yeah.
Because he blew it, in their marriage. So it shows that he's grown. He's grown into an adult man, and he's learned how to take his licks and not freak out. So that's what I think that whole thing was about. And then also they show him at the fast food restaurant drinking the peaked 1961 wine.
Yeah, he's drinking it out of a styrofoam cup. Eating a burger.
Which, being a Houston boy, and we've got lean down here, you drink that out of a styrofoam cup while you're eating a Whataburger. So I really appreciated the fact that he was drinking out of a styrofoam cup at a fast food restaurant, munching on a burger, because it's my favorite food too. I love cheeseburgers. Yeah, so that pretty much wraps it up, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that I really hated Jack. I think Miles is redeemable, even though he made a stupid mistake. But I mean, I was rooting for him to move past the things in his past.
Yeah, I was too. And you're happy to see it at the end of the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you think, like, maybe I don't like this guy now, but maybe the guy that he's gonna become, you might like him, and you might want to go drink wine with him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Aaron, I want to get your no bullshit assessment. Bullshit. What did you think of this movie?
I thought it was a pretty good movie. There were some really fun parts of the movie. And if someone said that they'd never seen it, I'd be like, yeah, it's worth a watch. But I'm not going to recommend it. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, Mom, you got to see this movie. Or like, my best friend, you got to see it. If they bring it up, I might be like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty decent movie. It's worth a watch if you haven't seen it.
Okay, that was your shortest no bullshit assessment.
Sorry.
Ever. I leaned back, like, waiting for it, and you're like, yeah, it's good.
I mean,
All right,
I would say it's,
No, it's
yeah,
fine.
no,
I'm
yeah.
not criticizing it. I was just like bracing for a longer thing.
Oh no, yeah. It was very like I was down the middle. Like there's no plot holes in it, but I do think it could have been a fuller movie. Like I don't know how, but it's not going to go on my top 10 for sure. But I like if someone was like, "Hey, I want to watch Sideways." I'd be like, "Okay, I'll watch it again."
Yeah, you would watch it with somebody.
Yeah.
It's a movie that if you saw you got a bunch of free time and it came up on a streaming network, you'd be like, yeah, this is a
Okay,
fun
yeah, I'll
this is a
watch it.
fun romp. But yeah, it's not something.
I'm not going to seek it out.
Yes, and I don't think it's on anybody's top 10 list.
Oh no.
I saw this movie when it came out, and it was a pretty big hit, but it hasn't grown
Yeah.
since then. If anything, it's declined in popularity since it came out.
Yeah.
And I do like it, and it's funny, but I wouldn't put it on a you gotta see this type thing, you know. All right, well, I think that's gonna do it for the movie. We didn't plan a game.
I had an idea for a game.
Oh, okay, great.
My plan was to ask you trivia about movies.
Oh, you want to get down like that, huh? Do you?
Yeah. I want to see how much you actually know about movies.
Okay.
But I don't want it to be like all semantic kind of questions. So I have a list. Let me pull it up.
All right, let me go hit the heavy back for a little bit.
How would you pause it? Okay. So this segment is called Act Trivia. I don't know. I'm just making that up.
So, yogurt and trivia.
Yeah, we're eating a bowl of yogurt each.
Oh, okay.
And every time you get something wrong, I'd get to splatter yogurt on your face.
All right.
And if you get it right, you get to splatter it on me.
All right, sounds good.
Cool. So the first question, we're going to make it easy for you. What is the first comedy movie Adam Sandler starred in, directed, and written?
Oh, directed and written? Jeez.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It's from 1998.
1998. How? Oh, man. I think Billy Madison was before that. I'm pretty sure Happy Gilmore was also before that. I'm going to say The Waterboy?
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
We don't actually have yogurt. Okay. What is the highest grossing movie of the 2000s?
The highest grossing movie of the 2000s?
Mm-hmm.
Avatar?
Meet the Parents.
Meet the Parents?
Comedy movie.
Oh, comedy. You said comedy. Yeah, Avatar is not. I would have never guessed that.
Okay. I don't even know that movie. Okay.
You haven't seen it?
Okay. Where is it at? How much did comedy actor Will Ferrell turn down to do an Elf movie 2?
Oh, man. I'm going to say 10 million?
29 million.
No. Oh, my God. No fucking way.
He turned down $29 million so that he did not have to do Elf again.
Oh, my God. Did he
must
have a
have
bad
hated it.
experience?
I don't know. It doesn't
Jeez.
say.
29 million. Holy crap. I wonder how much they paid him to do the first
For
one.
real. Name the musical comedy movie to star singers Aretha Franklin, James Brown, and Ray Charles, alongside actors John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, come on. You call that trivia? That's the Blues Brothers.
Good job.
I watched that movie recently, fairly recently, because I loved it when I was a kid. But this time around, I was like, the movie, not that great, but I love the appearances of all the famous artists. Like when I was a kid, I didn't know who Aretha Franklin was.
Yeah.
And when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, that's the real life Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Okay. The code in the Matrix comes from what food recipe? Sushi recipe, dumpling recipe, stir-fry recipe, or pad thai recipes?
The code?
The code in the Matrix comes from what food recipe? Sushi, dumplings, stir-fry, or pad thai?
I'm going to say sushi.
Correct.
Oh, I just guessed.
Okay, this one I know, and I want to see if you do. What is the name of Meatloaf's character in the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Okay, I know it's not Riff Raff. I know it's not Rocky. I know it's not Dr. Frankfurter. Ah, man, it's right there. I don't know what it is.
It's Eddie.
Eddie, yes, that's right. Oh, he's the only person who has a normal name besides the two main characters.
Okay. Who voices Joy in Pixar's Inside? Nah, never mind. Skip that one.
Is it Mindy Kaling?
Amy Poehler.
Oh, I've never seen that movie.
Okay. Where were the Lord of the Ring movies filmed?
Oh, come on. Home of Flight of the Conchords, New Zealand.
New Zealand. That wasn't a good accent.
Yeah, you said that like Paul McCartney. Next up on the touring stop is New Zealand.
Okay. Which famous Pulp Fiction scene was filmed backwards?
The scene was filmed backwards?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've never heard this
Okay,
before.
I'll give you some hints. Vincent and Maya's dance scene, Maya's overdose, the Royale with cheese scene, or the Ezekiel 25:17 scene.
I don't think I understand what filmed backwards means.
It was filmed in reverse.
I have no clue. I don't know.
It's the Maya overdose scene. So in the scene, it looks like
It looks
John
like
Travolta
he's
sticks
stabbing. Yeah, okay.
the needle in her, but he actually pulls the needle out, and the film was run backwards to reverse the action.
Yeah, that way he didn't have to actually stab her.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had been more specific about what point, I would have been like, yeah, that.
Who was the first black person to win an Oscar?
Oh.
Was it Hattie McDonald, Sidney Poitier, Dorothy Dandridge, or James Earl Jones?
What was the first one?
Hattie McDaniel.
I believe it was Hattie McDaniel for Gone with the Wind.
Hattie McDaniel won Best Actress in Supporting Role for Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
Good job. Last one. It's kind of trivial, I guess. Well, I mean, it's trivia. Freddy Krueger wears striped sweater that is which colors?
Red and green.
Correct.
Yeah. I think Wes Craven was saying like that color combination is very off-putting to people, red and green.
Yeah, Christmas.
Yeah, and
Christmas.
I think Christmas decorations are awful. So
Oh, they are. Okay, well, that was Act Trivia.
Act Trivia. See if you can stump the Joe Meister. Guess what? You can. I got a few wrong.
I probably would have gotten most of those wrong.
Well, yeah, but you're not a film person. I literally studied film history in college.
True.
Yeah, I know I'm not very good at film trivia, but when the questions are about like historical stuff, like that's why I knew the Hattie
McDonald.
Hattie McDonald one, because that's a big part of film history.
Oh, okay.
You know, the first black person to win an Academy Award. And there was some controversy around it too. But that's how I knew that one.
Okay.
Well, this has been another episode of You Haven't Seen It?